This is ridiculous. The Knicks have a serious problem. All-star big man Karl-Anthony Towns recently suffered a left knee injury, the same knee he had surgery on last year. If that's not bad enough, we also have an update about Towns' thumb injury, and it is not good news. We're going to break down all of these latest reports today. But before we get started, about 54% of you watching this video right now are not subscribed to the channel. We are on a mission to try to reach 50,000 subscribers, and we could really use your support. If you enjoy daily Knicks content like this, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button because it could really support all the great content that we're creating for you. And now, let's get started. Cat suffers an injury to his surgically repaired left knee. Karl-Anthony Towns is currently dealing with a number of injuries. That thumb injury and now a new knee injury. Now, he's been on the injury report before for a knee injury, but that was for his right knee. His left knee that he had to have surgery on last year was never an issue until yesterday's game against the Boston Celtics. Shout out to NBA Insider with the New York Daily News, Christian Winfield, for giving us the following information. According to him, Karl-Anthony Towns refused to sit this one out. The Knicks All-Star center landed awkwardly on his left knee while attacking the rim with under 9 minutes left to play in Sunday's 118-105 loss to the Boston Celtics. He limped to the bench on the next possession, then walked off the court and into the locker room. Moments later, with his team trailing by 19, Towns emerged from the tunnel and checked himself back into the game with 4 minutes and 12 seconds remaining. According to Towns, "I always want to play. My teammates are out there fighting, and I'm going to go out there and fight with them." Towns has dealt with right knee tendinopathy this season, but it was his left knee that required surgery last year when he underwent a mid-March procedure to repair a torn meniscus before returning in time for the Timberwolves Western Conference Finals push. It's a long season, according to Towns. It has peaks and valleys. It is what it is. It is what it is. Towns always says that regardless of the injury that he suffers. But my question is, he was injured. He was clearly dealing with a knee injury, but he checked himself back into the game. Why was he allowed to go back into the game? Oh, wait, I know why. It's because our head coach is Tom Thibodeau. Christian Winfield continues here by stating, Towns said that the Knicks medical staff wanted to examine his knee after he exited in the fourth quarter, but Towns declined, opting to walk it off and return to the floor instead. The effects were evident: a noticeable limp, reduced lateral movement, and a diminished impact in what was already a decided game. According to Tom Thibodeau, he said he was fine. What? So your player who just exited the game limping off the court says he's fine, even though the medical staff still want to examine him, and you say, okay, go back. That's what we're doing? That's looking after the best interest of these players? This is absolutely ridiculous. Once again, according to head coach Tom Thibodeau, when he was asked about the decision to put Towns back on the floor, he said the following. He said he was fine. He followed up that response with this response. His rebounding was terrific. Really? We're going to talk about his rebounding when he landed awkwardly on his left knee, the knee that he had to have surgery on last year. That's what we're going to say? His rebounding was terrific? He limped off the court. He limped off the court and had to lay on 3 bench seats because he was in so much pain. And we're not going to make a big deal out of it. We're just going to dismiss it. wave it, brush it off. I'm sorry. I will not brush this injury off because even Towns cannot brush this injury off. According to Kristen Winfield, when Karl-Anthony Towns was asked about his knee, he suggested some uncertainty about his availability for Wednesday's matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers. According to Towns, the knee is good. We'll just see how the next couple of days go. Time will tell. So clearly, Towns was not good enough to head back into that game because now his status for Wednesday is questionable. We don't even know. It could be doubtful. We have no idea how he woke up today and how that knee feels. It could be in even worse shape. We're not going to know until the medical staff examines that knee, which they should have done once he limped off the court. Why he went back into the game. Why Coach Tom Thibodeau allowed him to go back into the game. I'll never know. Who is looking out for the best welfare and the well-being of our players? Is head coach Tom Thibodeau doing that? Is the medical staff doing that? Is the rest of the coaching staff doing that? Is Towns himself doing that? Because it's clear every time he has an injury or he's dealing with something, he downplays it. He doesn't make it seem like it's anything. And when he's asked about it, he always says the same thing. It is what it is. We'll see what happens. I'll be all right. It's a long season. That's why you need to be all right, because it's a long season. And if this news is not bad enough, things get even worse. Like I said at the top of the show, this is not the only injury that Towns is dealing with. He is also dealing with a thumb injury. Now, we all thought if he continued to play the right way, that potentially that thumb could heal on its own. But now, after reports that we've received from SNY NBA insider Ian Begley, he's confirmed that Towns' thumb injury will last him all season long and will be affecting him for the rest of this season. Shout out to Ian Begley for answering the following question via his mailbag. A fan asked him, Towns has begun to make three-point shots. Is the thumb still an issue? Here was Begley's response. The short answer is yes. The bone chip in Towns' thumb is still an issue, and it will be an issue for the rest of the season. But give Towns credit. He seems to have adjusted well to the injury. The big man doesn't like to talk about the injury. If you ask him a question about the thumb, he usually says some variation of the phrase, it is what it is. Sounds familiar? Oh yeah, I know why. He said the same thing about the left knee injury. It is what it is. But now we see this thumb injury is going to affect him for the rest of the season. What about that left knee injury? You see, this is why I am concerned, because of the number of injuries that Towns has right now and that he's dealing with. Begley continues here by stating, Karl-Anthony Towns doesn't want to say that he'll be dealing with discomfort for the rest of the season, but he will be. My main question here is, how does he go to his bench so quickly against the Cavs? You guys remember, in the fourth quarter against Cleveland on Friday, when we started out, he played his bench for the entire fourth quarter. But against Boston yesterday, even though we were down, even though it was a blowout, even though Josh Hart is dealing with injuries, OG Anunoby's coming back from injury, and Karl-Anthony Towns suffered an injury during that game. For some reason, Tom Thibodeau thought it was a good idea to play them the entire fourth quarter and keep them in the game. Even though the game was out of reach, it was a blowout and we had no chance of winning the game. Why would you make that adjustment against Cleveland, but not make the adjustment against Boston? It doesn't make sense, especially when Towns is dealing with an injury. And clearly, because you put him back out there, because he was dealing with an injury to that surgically repaired left knee that he had surgery on last year, because of all of these issues, all of these factors, we now don't know his status for Wednesday's game against the Sixers. Even worse than that, we don't know if he did more damage to that knee. Why would we take the risk in a blowout? The game was already over. Yes, we were competitive in the third, but when we saw that game slip away in the fourth, when we started to get blown off the floor, don't you think as a head coach, you need to make the adjustments to protect your players? Protect the players. Who else is looking out for the players? And now his status for Wednesday's game is up in the air. And for the rest of the season, we don't even know because we don't know how much damage he did to that left knee. The left knee that he had surgery on last year. If I know that, shouldn't the coaching staff know that? Shouldn't Tom Thibodeau know that? If I saw Towns limp off the court yesterday in a blowout game against the Celtics, the one thing that would have never happened is Towns returning to the game for no reason at all. We need to see a change, and this needs to be addressed. Players cannot play through these type of injuries because it's clear if they do, it's not going to help the team. It's going to hurt us. But what about you guys? What do you think about these updates that we have about Karl-Anthony Towns and the fact that he injured that surgically repaired left knee in the game against the Celtics yesterday? And what about the update that we have about Towns' thumb injury and the fact that this injury will likely be an issue all season long and it will not be fixed until the offseason? Let me know how you feel about that in the comment section below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans, take care of yourself, your families, and each other. Peace and love.